and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well out there. Today I wanted to take a look at a brand new game that is coming out in the next few days. It's called artofrally. Now, if you didn't know anything about this and you were just passing by, it looks deceptively simple, but trust me, there is more than you think going on underneath the bonnet. Cast your mind back to 2015 and you may remember a little game called Absolute Drift. It was loved by so many people, had critical acclaim, and I personally spent far too much time playing it as well. And the reason it was so popular is really quite simple. It had a unique design, but they teamed that with the most fantastic feeling cars you can imagine. It was easy to pick up, but really difficult to master, and it just kept you coming back for more and more. So when I first heard about artofrally and realised it was being made by the same team that made Absolute Drift, the guys over at Fun Selector, I just could not wait to get my hands on it. It's been sitting in my Steam wishlist for far too long. But fortunately for me, they did send over a review copy, so I get a bit of early access and I can get this video out to you guys and give you my first impressions. So first up, artofrally will be available on September the 23rd. It will only be getting released onto Steam to start with. Knowing the history of Absolute Drift, I would imagine that this one will make its way over to consoles at some point, but there is no news on that quite yet. Visually, as you can see, and as I mentioned earlier on, this is a very simplistic game to look at, but there is a hell of a lot of style on show here, and the level of detail is quite exceptional. It's one of those things, you don't really notice it the first time you start playing, and then the more time you spend with it, everything starts to jump out at you at just how detailed it is. I mean, the lighting itself is stunning. From sunsets to fog to the way that the headlights reflect out into the countryside, casting shadows. They just look absolutely perfect. I love the way this game looks. And fortunately, it doesn't stop there. The game audio is spot on as well, from turbo flutters to squeaking brakes. They've managed to get everything into this package. The music that's featured works really well with the content too, although I have to say, for me personally, I chose to turn it off whilst I was racing. It defaults on, and I just prefer to hear the sound of the cars, the water splashes, whatever it may be while you're racing along. It just becomes a little bit more immersive that way. But most importantly, the gameplay. And if you did play Absolute Drift, which I know I keep going on about, but if you did play that, you'll know just what I mean when I say the cars felt playful in that previous game, and they feel playful again this time. However, somehow Fun Selector have managed to make these cars actually feel realistic, which is pretty amazing when you consider you spend the entirety of the game looking down at the car from above. It's quite difficult to sort of relay where the vehicle is in relation to the ground. You do get a small sense of elevation, but it is much more limited than it would be from, say, behind the car or whilst inside the vehicle. But regardless of that, you can genuinely feel every little thing your car is doing. Going over the brow of a hill, you'll feel the weight lifting off of the wheels, and suddenly your steering will go light until you come crashing back down into the ground and hope to God you don't get spun out off the track. You'll feel the weight of the car transition forward as you slam the brakes on, coming up to a corner a little bit too fast before the tail end just starts to kick out ever so slightly as you hit the opposite lock on the way out of the turn. There's just so much feel in general. It's something that you look at this game, you would never expect it, but somehow they've managed to pull it off. I'm definitely not saying it feels like a simulation. However, what they've managed to achieve here is a game that feels semi-realistic, but at the same time still keeps all of that playfulness that they had with Absolute Drift. It's just a joy to drive, but don't be fooled into thinking this one is going to be an easy ride, because it definitely isn't. The first time you load in, you are going to spend plenty of time off the track trying to work out how the cars feel. I have no doubt in my mind that sometimes you're going to get frustrated. However, stick with it. Trust me, this game is so rewarding, and once you start to master the way the cars feel, you'll be posting competitive times on the online leaderboards in no time. Which leads me quite nicely onto the content itself. What are you actually going to be getting for your money? Well, the simple answer to that is actually quite a lot. Let's talk cars to start with. You're actually going to have 50 plus iconic rally cars to choose from, which is actually more than you get in most AAA games. And what surprised me so far is the fact that every single one that I've actually taken out and driven has felt different from the other. And I've used about 15 different cars at this point. I'm not sure if they're all going to feel completely separate from one another, but so far so good, and I've just been impressed with the variety overall. The The cars are all separated into different classes ranging from 60s to 70s to 80s. You've then got Group B, Group S and Group A all available. There's no vehicle licensing here, but there is no way that you're not going to recognise some of your favourite rally cars here. In fact, I say some of them. These guys have pretty much covered everything I would ever want to see in a rally game. On top of that, you've got 60 rally stages set across 5 different locations. You've got Finland, Sardinia, Norway, Japan and Germany. And yes, they are exactly what you would expect. Finland is littered with obscene jumps and Germany's tarmacked roads are lined with concrete bollards. All the stereotypical things that you love and hate from the stages you've been racing in rally games are here for you to enjoy or maybe even rage quit over. The main game is split into 5 different categories, the first up being career mode, and there's no real surprise what you're getting here. But in this game, you are going to be taken on a journey through rally history. You'll unlock cars and liveries as you achieve the different milestones that you need to do as you progress. What is quite nice though is the fact that all of these cars and stages are available to you from the start of the game, not through the career mode itself. But there is a custom rally event, so you can try out any vehicles you want to on any courses at any point. Going back to the career mode itself though, there are varying difficulties depending on how confident you feel you are at the game. There's 5 to choose from. You've got easy, novice, normal, skilled and then master if you really do think you're good enough. I personally started on novice because I thought I was terrible at it when I first started to play, but I quickly found out that novice is actually very forgiving, but putting it on normal felt about right to me. It meant that I wasn't winning every single rally. It was giving me a bit of a challenge, but at the same time it did mean that I could progress through the game. On top of that, another couple of features that you might not necessarily expect when you first look at this game. The first being that you can actually set the cars to manual if you want to, but you do still have an automatic option. But on top of that, damage is actually included in this. So when you're racing through the career, you can set the damage to on if you want to. In fact, again, just like the difficulty, there are 5 different options here. You can have it set to none, light, default, heavy or severe. And trust me, just like everything else in this game, they have put so much detail into this damage model. It's absolutely fantastic. You'll feel suspension damage. The car will start to pull over to one side. You can get punctures to which you need to stop and actually repair them, again costing you time, just like any other rally game that you've played. And make too many mistakes and it won't be too long before you've either got terminal damage or there is smoke bellowing out of the back of your car as you struggle to change gear. All in all, the career mode feels great and it does progress quite nicely. Just try not to make too many mistakes. You have only got a limited number of restarts that you can use, and once you use them, you do start to cut into the customization items that you're actually unlocking. But hey, nobody said this was going to be easy. The next mode you're going to come into contact with is the time attack mode, and the name pretty much explains exactly what this is. You pick a track, you pick a car, you set a time, and these go onto online leaderboards so you can see how you're doing against the rest of the community. Next up, and I already mentioned it a little bit earlier, we've got Custom Rally. This is where once again you get to select whatever car you want at any location you want to as well. It's by far and away the best place to come if you just want to try out some new cars or different places to actually race at. You can also set lots of other options as well, including the weather and the time of day. There's quite a few options here for you. You can have morning, afternoon, night time. You can also have rain, snow or fog. Next up, we've got online events, and it's quite a simple affair. This is definitely something that most of you would have come in contact with. Certainly with current games, it seems to be the done thing. But we've got daily and weekly challenges, much like things like Dirt Rally 2 and other games. These events will change periodically. They're set on a predetermined courses using cars, again, selected by the game, I'm assuming. But the whole point in this is to set the best time you possibly can and see how high you can get up the leaderboard. And the last mode, and what a stroke of genius it was adding this one in. Everybody loves a nice free roam, and they've given us that here. Now, they haven't just given us one free roam map though. Again, these are set across the 5 different locations that we already know are in the game. So you've got Finland, Sardinia, Norway, Japan and Germany. Each of the maps are a fair old size, and they're just a great place to go and take your car and really learn how to drive the vehicles. There's no one here to judge you, and you're not against any clocks at all. You really can just do whatever you want. In fact, You can drive off the road, just go over the grass, and the idea really is to go and explore. You've got collectibles over every single one of these locations. In fact, you start with the first map, you need to be finding certain things within that map to then unlock the next map, and then so on and so forth. Again, just a really nice distraction. They didn't have to put that in the game either, but I'm so glad they did. It does add so much to it, and it just feels like a really complete package. Hopefully I've covered just about everything there for you. I mean, in terms of frames per second, this is uncapped anyway. It will run whatever your PC can manage, and it will work all the way up to 4K as well. For me, I've just been blown away with artofrally. From the art design to the audio to just the physics, every single aspect has been done so incredibly well. The game feels so polished that I have no reservations in recommending this to you. But only if you feel up to the challenge. As I've said, this is not going to be the easiest thing you ever play, but it is so rewarding that it is well worth putting the time into it. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, don't forget to leave me a like. Also use that comment section down below to let me know if you are going to be picking this one up or whether this is one you'll definitely be avoiding. If you haven't already, well, my question is why, but make sure you subscribe down below and also hit that notification bell. It really will help the channel grow, and I would appreciate all of the support I can get. Thanks for coming by the channel, happy rallying, and I'll see you on the next one.